Hello everyone. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel, Get Crafty with Sally. My name is Sally Poole and I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Gosh, I hope he's not going to do that. In Albany, Oregon. Welcome. Today I'm going to do some very simple beginner type cards. I've had requests for people that are just getting started to kind of just show the basics and let them know how that kind of thing works. I am using the Nests of Winter Designer Series paper today for these 3 cards. That is a 12 by 12 pack. So if you're just getting into card making, you don't really have to buy a ton of stuff to get going. You could buy that pack of Designer Series paper and like a pack of the basic white paper or the basic black paper. If you're not familiar with the Stampin' Up! Designer Series papers, on the back of the package, it does list all of the colors that they've used in their designs. So that's kind of helpful. It makes it easy to coordinate what you're using. So when I got this pack of paper out, I looked at the back of it and I just went and grabbed my gray granite, basic white, copper clay, basic black, I don't think that's listed on there, blueberry bushel, daffodil delight, and crumb cake. I don't think I used the crumb cake on anything. Let me show you. Set these aside for a minute. You probably are going to need some kind of a trimmer. You don't have to have a Stampin' Up! Trimmer. Very helpful. You could get one of the guillotine trimmers with the arm on it. The cardstock, the ones that I just showed you all the different colors, these are a heavier weight paper and they're great for the card bases. They're kind of sturdy. Those packs that I just showed you are 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So you can actually get 2 standard card bases out of one sheet. And there's 2 ways that you can cut this paper. You can either cut it this way, so this is 11 inches, this would be 5.5, then you would have 2 card bases that would be this design. You can also cut it. So this is the 8.5, this is the 11. You can also cut it half of the 8.5, which is 4.25, and you will get this type of a card, and it stands up. So you would cut it at 4.25 and score it at 5.5. And I usually don't score the ones that I cut this way. The paper seems to fold nicely, but I have noticed when I cut the 4.5 inch by 11 ones, I do find that I need to score it to make a good fold. So let me show you what I mean by that if you don't know. I will cut this type. So I'm going to place the edge of my cardstock on the 4 1/4 inch mark over here. There is a dark blade in the track. That is the cutting blade. It has a blade on the bottom of it. There's a lighter colored blade in the cutting track also. That is the scoring blade. It just makes an impression in the paper, so you can give it a good fold. It does not cut the paper. So let's take our cutting blade and we'll cut this to 4 1/4 by 11. We'll get our cutting blade out of the way because we're going to score it. So now halfway of the 11 would be 5 1/2 inches. So I'm going to place the edge of my cardstock at the 5 1/2 inch mark. And then I'm just going to press that scoring blade over the cardstock. I don't know if you can see the mark that left or not. I don't know if the fibers in the paper when they're making it run a certain way or what, but like I said, normally when I cut these and if I just try to fold it without scoring it, it just gets all bumpy and weird. So now that I've scored it, I can just match these ends up really good and take my bone folder and just give that a really good press, and then I'll have a nice crisp fold for my card base. So hopefully that helps you get started. So I think the first card we'll make is this one. I'll set it over here and see if that's good enough to be out of my way. Let me grab what we're going to need. This looks like a lot of pieces, but it really isn't. You can either take a screenshot of this, or as always, I always make a PDF with all of the measurements and supplies. So I will have all 3 cards that we're going to make today, the measurements and supplies in that PDF. So let's first let me add one thing. I did, for all 3 of these cards, for the measurements and supplies, include a 4 inch by 5 1/4 piece of basic white. These are for the insert, the inside of the card. It makes it a little bit sturdier and it gives you something nice to write on. I don't usually do those in my video. I always do put them in my cards, but I just, for some reason, I don't always do them in my videos. I don't know why. Okay, so let's take our, and I was going to show you this piece too. Let me show you that really quick. So there's a piece of paper. Oh, that's not the right one. We'll wait for another moment on that. Let's take our designer series paper. So this is the top layer and it's the smallest. The next layer down is the gray granite. Those colors go so well together. And I am just going to take my tape runner and put some tape on the back of the designer series paper piece. If you are really, really new to card making, you might try the Tombow green glue for putting these pieces together, just to begin with. It does give you a little extra time to move things around if you need to, but I'm using the tape roller, and you can see that I've got my finger and my thumb on both sides of this, and I'm kind of going to hold this piece of designer series paper up off of the gray granite piece, but I'm just going to hover over it and try to line everything up as best as I can so that I've got equal margins around this pretty piece of paper. So let's just take this and continue on, and we'll adhere this piece to the next layer, which is our basic black. I hope I don't run out of tape. I usually have a spare sitting here, but of course today I don't. Take my Post-it note off of there, and then same thing, I'm going to hold it right there, hover, line it up, and it's kind of hard to line it up with this big ring light right in front of my head. So hopefully I can get that straight. So then we are down to our card base. I'm going to give that another good burnishing with my bone folder. Again, I'm going to add tape to the back of this panel. And we'll center this on our basic white card base. Give that a press. And let's add our insert piece while we're at it. I'm thinking I'm going to have to go grab another tape runner. So if you're brand new to card making, you could be finished. This could be a done card. I'm sure your friends and family would love to receive this from you, knowing that you made it. And of course, you can write whatever you want in here. You can put a sentiment or whatever you want to do. Also, if you don't have a lot of sentiment stamps yet, you can just print things out on your computer. You know, design them on there if you have Word or, I don't know, some kind of a designing program. And then just cut those out. And since you're printing it from your computer, odds are that everything's going to be lined up and straight. So those should be easy to cut out. Let me show you what I use a lot for sentiments. And this is my all-time favorite. This is a retired, unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Set called Rectangle Stitched Framelits. This is great for cutting out rectangle sizes. And then there's one here that's almost a little square that I used for this. This is called Layering Circles Framelits. This is a relatively old retired one, as well as this one, which is called Layering Ovals Framelits. This is another older called Ovals Collection Framelits. This is another older one, Stitched Shapes. Not quite as old as the ones I just showed you. Stylish Shapes is a little bit newer, but I believe that it's retired as well. There is a current circle die, which has got a ton of sizes. This is called Deckled Circles Dies, so you can currently get this from Stampin' Up! I have found that if you do, put your sentiment on one circle and then cut another paper out of a larger circle to put a layer behind it, they look kind of weird because they're not lined up. I mean, they're okay, but it would work. You can also get, you can find those retired stamps, or excuse me, dies a lot on Facebook. If you go to some of the Stampin' Up! In Search Of groups, they're called ISO, In Search Of groups. And then you can just put in a request, say I'm looking for whichever die set, and then people can reply on there and tell you what they have, and you can buy them that way. You don't have to buy Stampin' Up! Dies. I think that you would find that you would be happy with a set of rectangle dies and a set of circle dies. You can find nice rectangle and circle dies on from companies like Divinity Designs. Tailored Expressions has some nice dies. Honeybee Stamps has nice dies. You can also just go to scrapbook.com. They carry a bunch of different brands on their website, and you can look and see what they have. So anyway, I think that's enough about the dies. So let's get our sentiment. I've already stamped it and cut it out. And when I'm stamping sentiments, my favorite ink is VersaFine Clair. It just is a really black ink. It does take a little bit longer to dry than the Memento Tuxedo Black. This isn't going to be quite as vivid as this. And this one is good for stamping images that you're going to color. Most of the time that I have tried to stamp an image and color it with this ink, even if I've let it dry overnight, it tends to smear. The black ink will smear. So I don't usually use that when I'm stamping images. So I'm going to take my green glue, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of my sentiment. You can also just cut squares and rectangles out with your trimmer. And I usually, when I cut my sentiment out, I usually measure the size, and then I cut the layer behind it 1/8 of an inch larger. Or if you want that color to show up a little bit more, you could do 1/4 of an inch. And for this card, I am going to put some dimensionals on the back of it, which give it dimension just like it sounds. They are foam. They pop things up. So let's just stick a few of these on here. Pull these covers off. And then we will just pop our little sentiment right on that card and hopefully get it straight. As long as you don't push that down to begin with, you can still move it. This card, I added a little bow with some white ribbon. I don't think I'll do that right now. I'm sure you can figure that out. So let's move on to the next card. Let's do this one. I love this birch looking paper. So here are the items that you're going to need for this card. And normally when I say that you need a scrap of something, that is usually for either a little image or the sentiment. And I've also, again, done the 4" by 5¼ piece of basic white for the insert on the inside of the card. So let's take our card base. I'm going to give that a press again. And then first, I think we will take our little piece of designer series paper. I think these birds are so pretty. And this is kind of a Christmassy looking paper, so you could use it for that. This one I'm going to put glue on the back of because I might have to slide it around a little bit to get it lined up properly. And I'm going to I'm going to line this piece of granite gray up on my grid paper. If you've got grid paper, that helps if you're lining things up while you're doing your project. That way I can see if I'm lining things up properly on that next layer. That looks pretty good. So now let's take our little piece of birch designer series paper. This one I will put my tape on. Oh, that might have been it. Let me grab this one and see if it's a good one. Nope, it's empty. Let me run and get one really quick. All right, here's a brand new one. And it seems like no matter how prepared I am, something always goes wrong or I'm missing something. Okay, so let's take our card base, and I am going to open it up. And I'm going to hold this again in the center. So it's resting on, actually, my fingernails are up, so I'm not letting this paper fall down on the card base. Otherwise, it's going to stick. So line it up, give it a press. That looks good. Let's just put some more glue on the back of this. I'm going to set it on my grid paper again. Could have done it on the piece of birch paper before I attached it to the card base. Then the edges would have been right against the grid paper, but this is okay. You can still see it pretty good. And I want it a little bit higher, a little bit more blank space at the bottom than I do at the top, because I'm going to put my sentiment underneath there. So I have stamped, I guess I didn't show you this. This is the Winterly Tree Tops bundle that coordinates with the designer series paper. The sentiments that you're seeing on most of these cards are from this set. So this one, I have stamped the Thinking of You Always, and I've used kind of a different die. It is from the set called Greetings of the Season, and it's this die right here. And you can see that obviously that does not fit. So there is a trick to changing the size of your paper, even though your die is longer or shorter. I could actually have made this paper longer if I wanted to. I do have that in some of my previous videos. I think I will make just a special video to show how that is done. So this one, I am just going to glue it to the card. So we'll put just a little bit of green glue on the back of our banner. And put it right underneath the little bird piece. And for this card, I tied a little baker's twine bow using, I think it's gray granite from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. However, for this card, I'm going to take a gem from the Earth Tone Shimmer Gems that coordinates with these items that I'm using. And I can either use, I guess, pretty much any of these. I've got Copper Clay, Very Vanilla, Crumb Cake, and Garden Green. So let's see. I think I'm going to take a Garden Green gem, and I'm just going to place it over. Doesn't seem very sticky. Maybe I'll get a bigger one. Let's put that one back. Take a bigger one and put it over that hole that got punched from that die. Okay, so there is that card. What do you think of it? I think it's just really cute. Oops. Let's put our inside in quickly, since I'm trying to do that in this video. I guess I should follow my rules. Okay, now that one's done. So the last one is the piece of paper that I tried to show you earlier. So there's a piece of paper in this pack that, look at this. It's got the same design on each end. So what I did with this, you can actually cut this at, I cut it at 5 1/4 up here. And then if you cut it at 4 inches and 4 inches, you can get 3 cards from this piece and then 3 cards from that piece. So you can get 6 cards from this one sheet of paper. And after you cut it, this is what you'll have left. That's all that will be left of that sheet of paper. So these are the cards that I made with the sheet of paper that I already cut, and we're going to make one like this. So there's that. Hopefully these will all fit in here. And then you can either, you don't have to put a sentiment on them, or you can put whatever you want on them. So I went with different colors on these. This has a layer of the, I think it's Blueberry Bushel. Yes, Blueberry Bushel, and then the Granite Gray. This one has Blueberry Bushel and then Basic Black. And I wanted to show you what the same card looks like with the sentiment in a different place. So there's that one. This is the same paper as well. This one has the Daffodil Delight in basic black. This one has basic black and granite gray. So you can see, sometimes it's kind of nice just to pick up a little bit of the color that's in the design. And then this one, I love this bird. This one I've just used black with the granite gray. And I just think the black is so classy looking. So I've obviously bored the dog, snoring away. So this is what you're going to need for this card. And this is the one that I cut at 4 1/4 by 11. Okay, so there's our inside. Let's just take and I am changing up the colors a little bit. You can see that I've got copper clay instead of the basic black layer behind the Designer Series paper piece. So let's get some tape on here. Again, if you're just starting out, you can put some glue around the edge, and you don't need a lot. It doesn't take a lot of glue to hold the paper, and if you get your glue too close to the edge of the paper, when you put it on here and press down, it's going to ooze out. So you need to be careful not to get it too close to the edge. Okay, so let's put some tape on the back of our copper clay. And we will adhere it to our basic black card base. That is willow, by the way. If you've ever looked at my blog, the two dogs have their own page on there, and you can see pictures of them, so you'll know who I'm talking about. Let's put our inside insert in here while we're at it. And I will also, in my PDF, I will put the other stamp sets that I used for these cards. They're just older stamp sets that I have. So I have stamped "May your heart find the peace it needs" and in a circle, and then I've cut out a scallop circle in copper clay. And anytime you're putting a sentiment on, you can either glue it or pop it up on dimensionals. That is always a choice that you have. If I've got other elements on the front of a card that I've popped up on dimensionals, I tend not then to put the sentiment up. Let's see, I think I will pop this up on this one. There are mini dimensionals too. These are the regular ones. They would have been fine on here. And while I am mentioning dimensionals, if you're new and you buy these dimensional packs, you can see that I have cut the edges all up. This is all the same product. It's foam. It sticks on both sides. So you might as well use the whole sheet. So cut things up, cut them in half when they're too big, cut little corners, cut whatever you need, and use it all. So you can then take your sentiment, move it around, and see where you might think it looks the best. I think I'm going to put this one down here in the corner. And with this sentiment, this could be a really pretty sympathy card. So what do you think about that? I think it's great. So I was going to mention one more thing before I go. I did stamp some of these thinking of you always sentiments quickly. And I just was going to show you some things that you can do differently when you're placing them on your cards. You can always just cut it so it's a square, or excuse me, a rectangle. You can also cut it at an angle on both sides. That makes kind of a cool look. And then also, if you want the little flag on the end, like I used on this one, but I cut it with a die, you can actually make your own flag. So let's cut the left side square. That's not very square. That's a little better. So then cut this down a little bit, but leave enough for you to make your little flag tails. Take your little snips and cut right up the center, and then go from this corner point to the top of that line that you just cut, and then go on the other side corner up to the top where you just cut it in the center again, and you'll have your little flag. So that's an easy way to do that. So sentiments are not that difficult. You can make your own with not a lot of extra products. So this is something you could make your own on your computer, print it out, and then cut it however you like. Anyway, those are my cards today, featuring the Nests of Winter, excuse me, Designer Series paper. So let me know what you think about them. I just love this paper. If you have any questions about anything, if you're just starting out and something I said doesn't make any sense, or you need clarification or some more information, or you have a question about anything, leave it in the comment below the video and I will get back to you about it. So I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.